For this kitchen design for the Austin sample project, it will be covered in 2 sessions. In the first session, I'll cover kitchen plan dimensions, laying out the cabinets, appliance placement, and the backsplashes. Let's get started by placing the key appliances. When I'm working on a kitchen design, I like to begin the process by placing a few of the critical items initially. In this case, I'm going to place the cook range and the cook hood. I'm going to do most of my work in a 3D view so you can see how I'm placing these objects to give you more visual feedback. When I use the 3D camera, variation that I prefer to use is the view that's called the Perspective Floor Overview camera. This is the view that allows you to see down inside the design without the ceiling on, and you can get right in and place your objects. To make things a little bit faster, I've created a library of a few favorite items. You can see this off to the right hand side. I'm going to begin by coming over and I'm going to grab a commercial style range. I'm going to go ahead and place that against the back wall. I'm going to grab the cook hood out of the library. I'm going to come over here, slide, and place the cook hood. I'll purposely set it off to one side. Click on the cook hood. I like to use the center tool in my lower edit menu. You see it picks up the center of the cook range. That way I know they're exactly centered. And when I go back over into the plan view and I click inside the room, you see room definition. There are some invisible walls that I don't have that layer turned on that surrounds the room. In the lower edit menu is the tool to place the automatic room dimensions. If you're using X13 and prior, you'll see another tool called the Auto NKBA dimensions. That's the best tool to use when you're using those versions and older. Once these dimensions are placed, I'll press the spacebar to get out of selection mode. Typically you're going to find some of the dimensions need modification. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and click on the dimension string. You see diamonds that pick up the different points. For the center of this wall, I'm going to grab the diamond and I'm just going to pull it off slightly to remove that dimension. The other thing, you see how the dimension is stepping on a base cabinet or a furniture item? The same thing is happening as we slide over into the butler's pantry. The dimension is going to be stepping on some of the cabinets, and what you may want to do is clean that up depending on the view that you have so that it's a little crisper and you don't necessarily see things. One of the tricks that I use is just a CAD box. So I'm going to come up here, I'm going to draw a CAD box over the top of that item. This way I'm not going to need to turn off the layer or assign different layers. With that CAD box, you see as I zoom in, it came in with blue outline. I'm just going to double click and make a few modifications. On the line style itself, let's go ahead and change that from using a line style to blank, and then on the fill style, change it to solid, and then I'm just going to switch that to a white fill style. That way it will cover up that particular object. You can change the draw order. Notice that my dimension draw order is over the top of that CAD box. That's a great way to mask the view. And if you wanted to do the same thing over on the pantry side, you could copy that CAD box, slide it over, and clean up your dimensions. I use those quite a bit for bathrooms when it gets a little bit cluttered and you have many rooms next to each other with several dimensions. Here's the final layout sheet for the kitchen. See how the floor plan has a clean view of the dimensions, even though it's part of a larger floor plan? Now for the cook hood range, let's go ahead and highlight. I'm just going to click on the range and I'm going to hold my shift key down and grab both. And then the center tool, pick up the center of the room, center that range, and you see that I have the dimensions for the major appliances that I want to design around in the kitchen. And we'll come back and visit more about the dimensions for the room when we place the island and wrap that up. Let's go back over into the 3D view. Let me go ahead and close the library to get a little more screen real estate up. I'm going to focus on the right hand side of the kitchen. We'll start with the base cabinets, work our way to the wall cabinets, and then I'm going to copy and reflect many of those to the left side of the cook range. Let's begin in the corner down here with using the base cabinet, and I'm going to come over and you see a ghost outline. And when I put the cabinet exactly in the corner, it becomes a corner cabinet. Same process if you're doing that in the 2D plan view. As you move your cursor very near the corner, it will become a corner cabinet. The cabinet I placed has all the default settings that I've set up as part of this project plan. When you start a new project in Chief Architect, the cabinet defaults probably look different. You can change those based on most of the common attributes you use and then modify it to fit your client's particular needs. I'm going to make some modifications to the base cabinets, and we'll do quite a bit more to the wall cabinets. For this base cabinet, the first thing I'm going to do is change it to an L style cabinet. Open it up, and on the general panel is the option towards the bottom of the dialog to make that a set of diagonal doors. Deselect it. It will make it an L-shaped cabinet. If you check the option for Lazy Susan, that will then place the Lazy Susan. You'll be able to see that in the floor plan view. Using the base cabinet tool, I'm going to place a base cabinet right next to the corner cabinet. When the cabinets place in Chief Architect, they bump and merge and form the countertop automatically for you. When you resize the cabinets, the default setting is to resize in 3-inch increments. As I bump this out, notice that it's bumping in 3-inch increments. You can set your defaults to bump in 1-inch increments or any other variation that works for you. As I open up this particular cabinet, I'm going to change it to a bank of 3 drawers. I'm going to click on the front of the cabinet face. That changes the panel to the front, sides, and back. Currently the face item for the door is highlighted. I'm going to change that face item from the drop-down list to a drawer. And then I'm going to use the option to split that horizontally. That's the easiest way to create a bank of 3 drawers in this particular case. Let's go ahead and use the copy option. And I'm going to slide a copy of that. Let's bump it against the cook range. And then once that's bumped over there, I'm just going to kind of snug it back so that it is exactly against the other cabinet. Let's rotate our view slightly, and I'm going to place a couple more cabinets right in the area next to the corner cabinet. Place the first one, and for this one, I'm going to change it to be a full height cabinet. Double click on the cabinet, click on the drawer itself, use the delete option. That removes the face item. Another base cabinet next to the full height cabinet. I'm going to click on the front of the cabinet. I'm going to slide that over, bump it once, bump it twice. That means it increased by 6 inches. I'm going to put a microwave in this. Let me open up the cabinet. On the lower face item, click. I'm going to change this to a drawer. On the upper face item, I'm going to change the face item type. As we come down, I'm going to change that to an appliance. You can set the item height. Good idea to use, I'm going to set this to 19 7/8, to use the finished dimensions for the appliance the way the cabinet cuts out. Notice that just below that it locks the face item from a resize. That way, if you have an important face item that should not be adjusted, then you can make sure that you've used the lock from auto resize. Just below that is the appliance door drawer specify. I'm going to come out into the catalog. Again, to make things a little bit easier, I've created my own folder with some very specific items so I don't spend a lot of time traversing for the purpose of this session. In between the microwave and the drawer, I have a separation. It's going to be partially covered because of the reveal from the drawer. I'm going to change the separation to be a blank area. That way I can explicitly have an extra area when that microwave drawer slides open. Now the next item that I want to place, if you kind of look real close in this area right here, there is a gap. I'm going to use the cabinet filler tool. You'll find the fillers for base and wall cabinets over in the cabinet menu. And I'm just going to come over and place that base filler right here and fill that space. Now for the next option, let's go through and place our wall cabinets. For the wall cabinets, let's begin the process by placing our first wall cabinet. And I'm going to customize this for the cabinet defaults that will be used for this particular project. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to resize this cabinet to be 54 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and slide that up, and then I want to have 2 different door styles on this and different hardware. and slightly larger molding at the top to meet at the ceiling. Let me double click and open up this cabinet. First thing, I'm going to click on the cabinet face. When I click on the cabinet face, that will change the panel to the front and that particular face item. I'm going to use the split horizontal while I'm on the door face item, and then I'm going to adjust the item height for this face item. I'm going to reduce that to 14 7/8. Press the tab key, preview panel will update. I'm going to change the face item type from a door right to a door hinged at the top. On the panel for the appliance door drawer specify, notice that the hardware is offset, and I want to change the upper door style to be glass. Bottom door style is set up to be slab, so is the upper one. Explicitly, since it says it's using default, I do have to use a different style of door so that I can enable it to be glass. Otherwise, that option won't be enabled until you change the door type. For the hardware style, I'm going to come down and use the library option. And I already have one picked out that I want to use. It's a horizontal pull. And now from in edge, if I put 0 in there, that should center that piece of hardware. If I click off of that so you can see the update, there's the new face item as we've made changes to it. Next thing I'm going to do is click on the moldings. I'm going to make a copy of this upper crown molding. Use the Make Copy tool. Places it at the bottom of the table down here. I'm just going to use the Move Up to put it at the very top. I'm going to come on the width and I'm going to change that to be 3/4 of an inch. Set the height of it to be 5 5/8. And then change the offset amount. Currently the previous one below that was set to be a 1/2 inch offset. And then the vertical offset is at the same amount, minus 6 inches. A negative number is going to move it off the cabinet. So if I take 6 inches plus 5 5/8, that will make that a negative 11 5/8 inch. Press the tab key and you can see the preview update. Down in the bottom of this dialog is the offset for face items. You can adjust that. If you zoom in, you can see that my face item is actually flush with the box, and then also that molding flush with the box. And then if we rotate around a little bit, it's also flush with the face item in the front. So that's the option when you check the offset molding for the face item over in that area over here. With the changes for this wall cabinet made, I want all the other wall cabinets to look exactly like it. In the lower edit menu, while that cabinet is still selected, is the wrench with a little plus sign. That will set the cabinet as your default cabinet, and all future cabinets will look exactly like that. You see the information the program has popped up that has indicated that the cabinet defaults have been made. As I place the wall cabinets, let's begin with the corner cabinet, and I'm just going to come over just exactly like the lower base cabinet. You get the ghost outline. I'll pause there for a second. See the cabinet change to be a corner cabinet. Then when you click and place it, it will fill that space as a corner cabinet. Let's make some changes to the corner cabinet. This is going to be slightly different than the other cabinets. I'm going to match the lower cabinet to be an L cabinet. That will cause me to change that upper door style from a hopper to a swings right or swings left. Let me go ahead and open up this cabinet. On the general panel, down underneath the options, you can remove the check mark for a diagonal style door. Notice that our hardware is going to need to change. I'll do that in a 3D view in this particular case. Let's come in and change the face item. I'm just going to click on the face item over here, and I'm going to change it from the hinge top. I'm going to match the lower auto right door. So I'm going to come down and use auto right. There are different door styles between auto right and a right style door, left style door. The difference is you can set when the cabinet gets resized. The program default, I believe, is at 26 inches. When you resize it beyond that, a cabinet door will become a double door from a single door, and that's the difference between auto and the door that doesn't have auto. Now, change that hardware. Let me open up the library browser. I'm going to scroll down. To save time, I have organized my hardware to make it easy. I'm going to grab the shorter pull for the smaller door up top. I'm going to use the scoping. Make sure that it's in the component mode. See, there's tools in my lower left-hand menu. Component mode, which will just change it for the face item, versus object mode, which will change it for all face items. Once it's in component mode, I'm going to come up spray it on that face item to make the adjustment for the hardware. Press the spacebar to get out of that mode. I'm going to click on the cabinet, and I'm just going to slide that over and bump it to the corner cabinet, and then let's resize that. I'm going to go ahead and adjust it. You see how it pops out with the dimensions 36 inches. Make a copy of that cabinet. Use the copy tool in the lower edit menu. Slide a copy of this over, and then what I like to do after I've slid it over, let's go ahead and bump it. Cabinets bump, and then I have a contiguous run of cabinets. Rotate around a little bit. Grab our wall cabinet tool. Place another wall cabinet off to the side. Press the spacebar to get out of that cabinet mode. Click on the cabinet. I'm going to resize it to 33 inches. And I'll just repeat the process. You can either make a copy of that cabinet or place a entirely new cabinet. And then after it's placed, grab the handle, slide it over. You can do this in an elevation view, in a floor plan view, or in a perspective view that I'm doing it in here. Notice that we have the same type of gap in there. In this case, I'm going to use the wall filler and come over here. Sometimes this is easier to do in the floor plan view and get it just positioned right. Once that filler is placed, I'm going to grab the Backsplash tool found underneath the cabinet tool. I'm going to click on the wall. It'll place our default backsplash. Notice that it's not going all the way over, and if I kind of tilt up, see that there's a wall intersection. The program's doing the best. It thinks that wall should stop it. You can easily pull this backsplash over while it's still highlighted, and I'm just going to slide it over into the corner. Then let's rotate the view. I'm going to place one more backsplash in this small little area right in here. The Backsplash tool, come over and click. And in this case, the program is placing the backsplash. It's sliding up in front of the cabinets. I'll just pull this down so that it snaps right in the same area. And then I'll grab the side handle and just slide that back past the light rail molding. Once I have the backsplash in place, you can grab the different material. I grabbed one of my favorite ones. It has a little bit of color in here. I'll just click on both of those objects on the backsplash. Let me zoom out, and I'm going to grab all of the cabinets on the right hand side of the cook range here. And as I kind of pan up, I'm going to hold my shift key down, and I'm going to grab most of these cabinets. So holding my shift key down, I'm going to click on the base cabinets. And I'm going to do the same thing for the wall cabinets. I'm not going to grab all of them, but you can see that I've grabbed a big majority of those. While they're selected, I'm going to zoom out a little bit, hold my Alt key down and my middle mouse button so I can still rotate. Then I'm going to use the Copy tool and then the Reflect About tool. Come over here, you see the cook range that it picks up on. You get the visual indicator. Then when you click, that will place all of those cabinets off to the other side, and then I need to go in and make a few modifications to these cabinets. Let me move back over into the floor plan view and make a few modifications in the floor plan view. For the base cabinet, I'm going to go ahead and resize that down 3 more inches. That should then match up with the wall cabinet above. And I'm going to place a refrigerator right in that area. When I place a refrigerator next to it, it will trim the overhang that you may be seeing right in there that represents the solid line and the dashed line. Over in the library, I'm going to grab one of my saved refrigerators, come over here, click and place. Let me press the spacebar to get out of that selection mode. If you take a look at the corner cabinet right in here, you see the label has been stepped on from the cabinet above it. You can move these labels. There's a small little move handle right in that area right here. There's also a rotate handle, so if you need to rotate that and pull it out of the way, you'll find that when you click on the cabinet. Look for a very small move handle, probably very difficult to see in this session. The last wall cabinet I want to place will go right above the refrigerator. Let me grab my wall cabinet tool and let's click and place the wall cabinet right above the refrigerator. Maybe more difficult in a 3D view if this is going to compete with your refrigerator. So let's just pull that out, make a few modifications, double click to open it up. And you can see that it's already smaller than our typical default cabinet because it's been placed above the refrigerator. So let's click on the bottom face item. I'm going to use the delete option. Sometimes when you click delete, it will convert it to an opening. I'll press delete one more time to remove it. Then over on the general panel, I'm going to make the adjustments. That should be 48 inches. And then I'm going to also change the width and the depth. Let's make those both 24 inches. The final thing is, you kind of zoom in the preview, I still have a light rail on here. I'm going to move over into the moldings panel, find the light rail which is at the bottom, and just simply remove that. As we take a look at this in our 3D view, one of the last things I'm going to do is, for the back of the cook range, I want to create a backsplash, a custom backsplash that will go in here, and I want to have it framed with a molding. I'm going to use the wall elevation camera and do that because it requires a little more precision than just doing it in a perspective view. The way that you create a wall elevation, zoom out so we can see the floor plan. Underneath the elevation cameras is specifically a tool for the wall elevation, and this is going to show you the wall restricted to the room that you're within, and also remove the platform information for the floor, the walls, and the ceiling. To create the backsplash behind the cook range, I'm going to use the Backsplash tool, and I also want to have it surrounded by a molding. I need to snug up the wall cabinets. When I placed those initially, I used 36 inches and probably should have made those 39 inches. Let me make a quick adjustment in here. I'm going to click on the edge of the cabinet. I'll bump that out 3 inches, and then I'm going to slide it over another 3 inches. It should bump right against the cook range, and then I'll do the exact same edit on the other side. Slide that over and bump it over. Same process on the other side. Let's go ahead and slide that over till it bumps to the cook hood. Resize the cabinet 3 inches. And then I'll grab the other cabinet, slide that over so it bumps. For the backsplash and surrounding molding, I'm going to begin with the CAD tool, and I'm going to draw a rectangle. I'm going to convert that rectangle into a molding, and then with the open space that leaves, I'm going to use the Backsplash tool. Using the CAD Box tool, I should be able to come over here, pick up a snap, pull that up and around, and right in that area right here. Now that I've drawn the CAD box, let me press the space bar. I'm going to click to highlight it, and then in the lower edit menu is the option that you're going to see that says Convert Polyline. I'm going to choose the option to make that a 3D molding polyline. And then when it opens up the molding specification, I'm going to come over to the moldings panel. It's using a square profile. You can browse out to the library and replace that with a different profile. I'm going to set the width of this to be 5/8, and then for the height we'll set it to be 2 inches. I'm going to uncheck the option to extrude inside the polyline, and I've now created the molding surround. Using the Backsplash tool, I'm going to come in, and on this time I'm going to do a click and drag as opposed to a click and place that we did previously. So we'll just come in here to create that inlay backsplash. I'll press the space bar. Let's go back over into the camera view. A couple of remaining things. Let's apply a backsplash off to the right hand side underneath the cabinet tool. Come down, I'm going to grab the Backsplash tool, click and place on the wall. I'm going to use the material eyedropper, pick the material up from the existing backsplash, come over, apply that onto the cook range backsplash, apply it onto the side backsplash, and then the material eyedropper one more time. I'm going to pick up the black material on the toe kick and apply it onto the molding surround. Eventually I'm going to paint all the upper cabinets white. I'm going to hold off on doing that. It makes it a little more difficult to see in the session, so I'll save that towards the latter part of the final project. I want to take a look at maybe changing the molding profile as the last step here for the cabinets. I'm just going to hold my shift key down, and I'm going to grab all of these cabinets, and once I've got them all selected, we'll come over and grab the last one here. Use the open button. On the moldings panel in the dialog is where you add your edge profile. I'm going to come over, select Add New. I'm going to search for OG. Pick up the profile. There is a bonus library you can download from the 3D library if you need additional profiles. Once I've got that molding profile assigned, let me press the spacebar. It comes in as a different color. Let's grab our material eyedropper, pick up the countertop material. I'm going to change this to room mode, and that way it will change it for the entire room. And as I zoom in, you can see how that profile has been applied to all of the cabinets. That wraps up this first session on the Austin Sample Kitchen project. In the next session, we'll cover placing the islands, wall elevations with dimensions, callouts, and the keynotes. So if you have questions you'd like to ask those live that are related to kitchen layout and cabinet layout and any of the things that we were working on today, you can raise your hand. You'll find that setting in your GoToWebinar control panel. When we call on you, just tell us who you are, where you're calling from. Be sure to unmute your microphone. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Carrie and see if we have any questions out there.
Hey, Scott, we do. We have Derek with a question. Hi, Derek. Go ahead and ask your question.
Hey, how's it going today? This is Derek with Derek James Homes in Houston, Texas. Thanks for putting these on. I always learn a ton. I do have a couple questions though. Could you go over inserts for cabinets like Revshelf, third-party inserts, things like that? And then is there a way to, put scoops on drawers, on internal drawers and things like that that you might find in a pantry?
Okay, sure. Well, let's take a look at your first question with inserting an item from Revshelf. Let me just switch around here and grab the program. And let's assume that we place a cabinet in here. And let's go ahead and rotate it around. And for this cabinet, how about a waste pullout? Would that work okay?
Yeah, that would be great.
So in that case, a waste pullout is going to be inserted as if it were in a drawer. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the cabinet. I'm going to remove the lower portion of the door. That'll leave me with one drawer, and then I'm going to change that and insert that in as a Revshelf waste pullout center. So we'll just go ahead and open up the cabinet, come over here, click the delete option, and remove the bottom component. And then while I'm highlighted on the drawer itself, Derek, do you see the appliance drawer specify option down where my mouse is here?
I do, yes.
Yeah. So on the specify panel, we can come in, and on that particular panel, you see down towards the lower middle of the dialog, we can go out and browse out to the library. And if you've gone and downloaded the Revshelf catalog, let's see if I have that handy here. And let's see here, Revshelf. There we go. I don't claim to know their catalog super well, but here's their waste pull-out catalog. And let's just grab one of these. That might be a standard item. And then we'll just go ahead and say OK. And then one of the things that I like to do is you can display these drawers and drawers open. So if we show that open in the dialog, let's go ahead and do that. And then we can kind of tip down in and you can see that pull out.
Okay, yeah. And
then obviously you can control the amount that it's open. Does that work for you?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, now your next question in like a pantry. I have a pantry on the other side of the kitchen here. And you've got a set of drawers that are maybe exposed and they have a cupping on them so you can easily pull them out. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just pause here and see, Adrian, do we have a drawer style that might meet that criteria Derek had mentioned?
I'm sorry, what specific criteria? I missed part
Well,
of that.
it's like an exposed drawer for a pantry that would have a maybe a curved cutout you might grab with your hand and pull that out. I'm not sure what they call that style.
Yeah, kind of where you're headed under the, yep.
Something like that.
Cubby drawer.
Yeah. And so let's see if I have, well, we'll just go ahead and put it on this drawer here. We'll replace it on this cabinet and then remove the hardware off of it.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yeah, I think so. How would you do that where you would still have doors covering the pantry, but then drawers inside.
Well, okay, so you want a door.
Pull out shelf.
Yeah, you want a door, and then what you can do is you can place these free floating, right? Boy, my mouse, let me just adjust my mouse. I'm on a different computer here. You can place these items free floating, and so if I come over here and place that free floating, then I could stick that behind the cabinet door, right? And take an elevation view and then copy it, and then when you take a view inside the cabinet or open up the cabinet, you would be able to see those series of 3 drawers. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll mess around with that.
You bet. You bet. Thanks.
Scott, let's check in with Andre one more time. Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, good evening, everybody.
Hi, Andre. Where are you calling from?
Barbados.
Oh, okay. Good evening.
Good evening. Yeah, good afternoon. Sorry. Listen, my question that I wanted to ask, it relates to a base cabinet, and I know that it is possible when you place a base cabinet in a corner to get what we call a pie-shaped front. You can have different treatments to it, but what if the wall isn't a 90-degree wall and it's open, say like a 45? I've tried putting the cabinet against that 45. Well, would it be a 45? Well, actually the angle will be wider than 45. It actually will be 90 plus. So is there any way that I can put a setting on the base cabinets that would allow for the cabinet to behave in a similar way to get like that angle that will be in the back of the cabinet? And if I'm asking the question clear enough for you.
Yeah. So, Andre, thanks for the question. Let me just grab kind of a simple plan here that we can deal with. So you have a wall that looks like, let's just draw one in here, maybe is not at 90 degrees, more than 90 degrees, something like that.
More than 90 degrees.
And so when you put your corner cabinet in, let's just put one over here since it'll be easier. And then I'm just going to flip that over to the other side. So herein lies kind of the issue, right? Where you've got this gap in here.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't physically shape all sides of this cabinet, but there are some things I can do.
Okay.
So for one, I could disconnect the countertop, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can reshape the countertop, I think. If I can come in here, let me just, where is that? Here we go. Yeah. So that will follow the wall. And now I have a gap where the cabinet is, right?
Correct.
And so a couple things. One, I could place a small cabinet and wedge it in there. I could also place one of these door fronts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if I just grab a door front and I place it over here, I'll turn the layer on, and we'll just slide it over here. This won't be perfect, but this might be a solution. Let's peek at this and see what this guy looks like. And then we'll go ahead and pull him up, right? Of course, that's not a matching door style, but is that kind of what you're after?
Yeah, because obviously it would be nice if when you put the cabinet in that it really followed the wall that was behind it. But I mean, there's probably something that might happen in X15. We don't know.
Yeah. So that's a request. We call it maybe something like a polyline cabinet that you can click on it, and basically how I modified that countertop in any shape.
Yeah.
We've heard the request if you could click on the cabinet and do the same thing. And we currently don't have that capability today, but that I'll make sure that your request there gets added to our list of people that would like to see that.
No problem. Thanks very much.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Andre.
Scott, we have several people writing in asking if you could demonstrate how to create a panelized appliance.
Okay, so there are a few options when you create a panelized appliance. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll just use a cabinet. So whether it's a refrigerator or a dishwasher, I will just mark that cabinet as a dishwasher and then leave it as a door or a drawer. So if we were to look at that and go back over here, and let's just slide over onto the other side over here. And let's assume that we wanted to have a panelized dishwasher. What I might do is step one, go ahead and place it and set it to 24 inches. And for this panelized item, what I would do is remove the drawer off of here. That's going to leave me with a single door, or remove the door, either one. And I'm going to change the label to be dishwasher. So one of the ways that you can do that, let's go ahead and open up the cabinet, and we'll pick the left drawer, click delete, and get down to a singular item. And then if we browsed out into the door fronts or drawer fronts, and we apply this on there. So I now have what looks like a panelized refrigerator. If you look at this in a floor plan view, where are we at here? Let's go over to the correct plan. The label is, incorrect. It's showing it as a one drawer base cabinet 24. You can modify the label so it's more representative, and come over to the label panel, specify the label. And so you could call it a DW or whatever you're going to call it. And then the other thing you can do is on the schedule. Currently, this is going to show up as a cabinet. It's using the automatic schedule category. I'd probably change that and specifically uncheck it out of the cabinets, come down into fixtures. And where are you, fixtures? Let's shrink that up. And I go ahead and put it in maybe as an appliance. And then when I do my schedule, I now have that. And the same thing with a refrigerator. You can use a tall cabinet. Sub-Zero has a configurator. You can figure out what the size of each panel is, and then build those and create just that style of a cabinet.
All right, thank you, Scott. Our next question is from Norman. Norman, go ahead and ask your question.
Afternoon, Scott.
Hey, Norman.
Typically, when I'm working with Chief, I use the drop-down menus on my icons, and I noticed that you have got the child tool palette.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Can we just go through, because I've gone into preferences and clicked on the drop-down, but it's not coming up on my left-hand side, and I'm just wondering, it's probably something really simple that I'm missing.
So are you talking about my tool palette that shows on the left side of my screen when I click on the cabinets?
Yeah, when you're doing cabinets, that's really good because you can just go left and right. You're not clicking. It's kind of like just one click and you've got it, and not two clicks to get the drop down and then your selection.
Right. Yeah. Everybody has their preference, and sometimes people get pretty picky about that. So Norman, underneath the preferences, if we come down and let's see, it's been a while since I've been in here for that. Under appearance, you see the toolbar system.
Yep.
You see where I have this checked as a tool palette, child tool palette.
Yep.
And then below it's probably what you're using, the drop down option.
Yeah, so I changed over to that child tool palette, and then I've got the top and bottom docking the same as yours.
Right. Yep. And the other thing you can do, sometimes I'll do this with the videos, is you can change this to a list view using the little gear icon that I have down here, and that will spell out. This is kind of nice when you don't know what all the tools are, and then you can expand and contract that. It takes up a little more screen real estate, but this is a nice option that will give you a descriptor of what each of these tools are. So you're kind of bouncing between doors, windows, cabinets, whatever it is, then it will show you explicitly what those tools are. And then you can resize that as well, make it a little bit bigger, so some of those names get cut off.
So I've changed those settings, and when I click on my cabinet icon at the top now, I'm not getting, and any of the other ones, my toolbar not coming up on the left as yours is.
What you might try to do is go into your reset and you could, click a reset to factory defaults if you haven't done a lot of customization. Or
Okay.
step one, you might just try, if you've changed your preference to that parent-child toolbar, is just close the program and restart it, see if that reinitiates it. If it doesn't, you might go into the reset option and explore that option there.
Awesome. I'll give that a go.
Okay. Yeah,
All right.
thanks a
so
lot.
much.
Okay, our next question is from Karen. Karen, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello, Scott. How you doing?
Hi, Karen.
So my question is with regard to the tall cabinets, and I'm sorry I got booted out. If we had an internet issue, and I got booted out in the middle for a little bit. If you have the tall cabinets and you try to locate the hardware exactly where you want it on both the upper portion of the cabinets and the lower portion, I find that you can't always locate them, especially in the bottom section if it's a taller cabinet, exactly where you want them. Is there a way to do that?
So Karen, where are you calling from today?
Oh, I am from outside of Pittsburgh.
Okay. So tall cabinets, when you've changed the height or adjusted them, hardware does need to be moved around to then be optimized for those face item heights. And if we kind of just go pop back into the program here, and let me place a tall sized cabinet. And let's just kind of take a peek here, make him a little bit bigger. And let's see if we can replicate what we've got going on. So
does pots put in the fireplace, dude?
Right now, if we look at this in an easier view here, my hardware might be okay, right?
Yes.
But if we monkey with this cabinet a little bit, and let's say that we take the lower face item, and let's just make that quite a bit smaller. Let's make that maybe 36 inches. Well, that still worked okay. Well, let's change the hardware. See what we've got.
Maybe you change the top section to be much smaller.
Yeah, whatever I do, I need to get it something a little bit different. So let's use a short pole here and see what happens. And there we go. Okay, so you see how I've changed the hardware in this case on the lower portion, and now it's a problem, right?
Right.
In this case, the reason it is because I just used a piece of hardware that's probably a third of the original size. So to make the adjustment, you can open up the cabinet, go onto the specific cabinet face and adjust it. So in this case, for the bottom cabinet face item, let's go ahead and open it up. I'm going to click on this bottom face item, and for the bottom face item, the appliance door drawer specify option, do you see that okay? So if I go in there, and currently my door hardware, the door handle, it says down from top 13 inches. So as we zoom in, apparently this is going down 13 inches to the center point of the origin of that hardware. So if we were to change that to, let's say, maybe 4 inches or something, then it will adjust it, right? And make the change. And probably that would be flipped around where the smaller one's on top. If that works for you, you could set that as your default, and then for the rest of this design, it would use the properties for that tall cabinet. Or if you have unique tall cabinets throughout the design, you just have to open it up, make the adjustment, and just go through the appliance door specify.
Okay, because I normally go into the door drawer specify and locate it that way, but I didn't realize there was this other little window. Is that only in 13 or is it in 12?
Also, I think that's through version 12. I might pause here if any of the staffers know.
Hold on, I'm trying
when we added that. Do you see it okay, Karen?
Hold on. I'm trying to open my, I'm like, wait a minute, I gotta find that.
Yeah, so again,
Because I
where I
had that
located
issue.
it, click on the face
Okay.
item, and
Click on
then
the face
this is
item.
where you can insert an appliance, change the door
Appliance
style to
door
be
drawer.
unique,
Okay.
and then
And
you have
so
complete
door handle.
control over managing that face item.
Awesome. Okay, it is in
Okay?
mine. Thank you.
Yeah, good.
Oh,
Good,
wonderful.
good.
Thank you. This has
You
been a
bet.
problem for me.
Okay,
All
thanks,
right.
Karen.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Scott, our last question is from Valerie. Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi Scott, I'm calling from Carmel, California. I've got a question actually about hardware. I noticed that I'm having issues where there's just not enough sizes to choose from. Is there a way to modify the sizes of hardware?
Well, Valerie, thanks for calling in today. So you've got hardware and you want to resize it. And, you know, depending on what your needs are, sometimes you have a smaller face item and you need to size it, something like that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, let's take a peek here. So one of the things you can do, let me just place a free floating piece of hardware here. And this is going to maybe be easier to do in an elevation view. So let me just close a couple things. There we go. Now let's just take a wall elevation and place a piece of hardware so we can see this. Okay, so there's this piece of hardware. I placed this independently, right? And one thing you can do is place your hardware independently and then resize it. So I could click on this, right? And I might resize this to be substantially bigger. And of course, I might run some dimensions out here so that I know that it's, you know, 18 inches or whatever the number should be. Then I can add that back into my library, click on it, add to the library, and then we'll give it a name that says, you know, Valerie iPole. And now I've got that in my library. And then when I come over here and we go to replace it, we'll have to switch and modify that face item because it's quite a bit larger. If we go back in and open that cabinet up and we come down and move that hardware around, then I can change that to, let's go to 15 inches or maybe back to 13 inches. Now I've got that hardware in a larger configuration. So that's one way you could do it.
That's perfect. Thank you so much, Scott.
Yeah, you bet.
Hey, Scott.
Yeah.
I believe in Export Team you can show a new feature there.
Okay, sure. Let's take a look at it. Walk us through it.
So go ahead and just open your specification for your cabinet.
Okay.
Sorry about that. And go back into that same dialog where you're adjusting the hardware.
Okay.
So yeah, specify the appliance door drawer. And for your door handle, there's an edit tool or edit button on the far right.
Yeah, okay, good point.
Click that.
So we could change that height. Let's reset it maybe back to 12 inches. And then we'll set the width of it to be 2 inches so we can see that it's bigger. And then let's maybe set that down to 11 inches. Okay, good. That's some big hardware. So did you see what we did there, Valerie?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, so that's a new feature in X14. Don't make your hardware that big though.
Right, I won't.
That's all we have today. Scott, were there any announcements you wanted to make?
Yeah, sure. Let me just pull up the couple slides that I had. So next week, we'll be working on the remainder of the kitchen. We're going to be doing our elevations, dimensions, and also the kitchen island. So this will be a continuation of where we started today with forming out the rooms, placing the countertop or the cabinets, and then the few appliances. So if you want to join us next week, same place, same time, you can sign up on the website. The following week, we'll be doing bath design, and then the following week, we'll be doing remodeling and overlays. We have a few events coming up. We have a 2-day training event in Dallas that will be in about a month from now. So that's our first training we've done in 2.5 years. The last time we were at the Builder Show, January 2020, so we're excited to be back. We have virtual training that's for an intro class. If you are new to the program and would like to attend the introductory class, that's a virtual class. That's going to start in a couple weeks on May 4th. It's 4 hours a day, and it's a great way to get started with the program if you're new to Chief Architect. The other thing, if you'd like to work with a one-on-one trainer, screen share, kind of what we're doing today, and ask questions and get very specific with your projects, this is a great way to take advantage of that. If you're interested, just give us a call here in our training department. We'd be happy to set that up with you. So I wanted to thank everybody for attending today, and hopefully we'll see you back here next week. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon.